Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees from Sri Jagannath Puri Dham. My name is Madhavananda Das. These are our adventures in Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we have a very interesting discussion. This is our 87th session of a series that we're calling Meeting in Kurukshetra. And today we're titling this Problems, Real and Apparent. We'll just begin with a few prayers. Gora Graganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Shaivandarotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Vedi Ramayanesh Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adhavande Chamadye Chahari Saivatra Giyate Mukam Koroti Vachalam Bangum Langayate Girim Yat kripa tamaham bande shigurum dinataranam paramananda madhavam Paramananda he madhava Padunga luchi makaranda Se makaranda panakori Anande bolo hari hari harinka name vandavela parikoribe chakadola se chakadolanka padaye manamo rahu nirantare Manamo Nimantare Rahu Ha Krishna Bholi Jiva Jao Ha Krishna Bholi Jao Jiva Mote Udada Radha Dava Mote Udada Radha Dava Mote udada radha dava Dharma projita kaita vota paramo nimatsanam satam Vedyam vastavamata vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Katikim Vaparayashvara Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Trakriti Shubhistakshanat Nigamako Pataro Galitam Phalam Shukamukada Mitradravasam Yutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka Anato Pasamam Sakshad Bhakti Yoga Madhoksaje Lokasya Janito Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhitam Yasham Vaishuyamanayam Krishne Padamapurushe Bhaktirudpadyate Pumsa Shoka Moha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Gyanam Padam Giyate Tatra Gyana Vairagya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskamyam Aviskritam Tachchinvan Supatin Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchan Naraha Arto Yam Brahma Sutranam Bhadatarta Vinirnaya Gayatri Basharupa So Vedakta Paribramitaha Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Saram Saram Samudritam Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamrita Tripta Shyanam Yatra Svedvachi Kuchit Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarup Shri Bhagavata Tate Veda Shastra Hoite Parama Mahatva Chari Veda Upanishade Jata Kichu Hoya Tara Arta Lana Vyasa Korila Sanchaya Jai Sutre Jai Ruk Vishaya Vachana Bhagavate Seiruk Shloke Nibandana Jivera Nistada Lagi Sutra Koilo Vyasa Mayavadi Bashishunile Hoya Sarvanasa Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavirastane Ekanta Shayakoro Chaitanya Charane Bhagavata Jainamane Sejavana Sama Tada Sasta Achijane Jane Prabhu Jama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So good morning to devotees from Sri Jagannath Puri Dham. We're continuing with our discussions. We're a series we're calling A Meeting in Kurukshetra. This is our 87th session. And we want to read today from the Bhagavatam, chapter 47, the 10th canto, which is the Brahmara Gita, Krishna's words to the gopis through Uddhava and their response. And today we're on text number 35. But first of all, I'd like to go back and look at text 34. So, we recite. Yatvaham bhavatinam vai dhurevarte prihodrisam manasa sanikar sartam mananudhyana kamyaya. So Krishna is telling the gopis through Uddhava, his message, he says that yatvaham, yet, this is the truth, this is the fact, that the reason why, durevarte prihodrisam, why I'm so far away from you, Duri means from a distance, why I'm so far away from all you who are so very dear to me, is because manasa sanikarshartam. Sanikarsha means to attract. I want to attract your minds to me and bring you closer to me. This is text 34. So today we're going to go on to text 35. Yata durachare preshte mana avishavartate strinam chana tata chetaha sanikrishte kshiye gochare. Because Krishna says that yata, just as yata durachare preshte, when someone's durachari, when they're a long ways away, then at that time, mana avishavartate, that woman, that lover, when her lover is far away, then mana avishavartati, the woman, her mind becomes completely absorbed in him. And Krishna says, Strinam chanatata chetaha, sani krishte kshi gochare. Even more, Cheta means their mind or their consciousness, their heart. Sani Krishne Akshigochare. They become more absorbed, those ladies, in their beloved than when he's present directly before them. So this is Krishna's message to the gopis. And Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Yat Shat Sarvata Sarvada. The Bhagavatam has a number of different messages and a number of different levels. It's in this particular case, we're hearing something about the mood of Srimati Radharani and the gopis of Braj. But there's also a personal message for all of us. And that's what I would like to speak something about today. How do we understand when the Lord puts devotees into situations of suffering? And what is really suffering? As we've titled this, Problems Real and Apparent. What is a real problem and what is just an apparent problem? So the gopis of Braj, if we tell them, actually there's really no problem, this is what Krishna's telling them. Really there's no problem, I'm with you right now. The gopis, they're not happy with that. As we sometimes comment, that if you tell the gopis, don't cry, it's okay. Krishna left for Mathura, but it's all right. He's on Facebook, and you can associate with him there. I don't think that the gopis would be satisfied with that. In his Sarta Darshani commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this verse explains the relative importance of seeing with the eyes and feeling with the heart. And when we feel something with the heart, that's even more powerful, much more powerful, and much more important than mere seeing with the eyes. In the Gopal Champu of Srila Jiva Goswami, he describes that the gopis, they're listening to Krishna, and the gopis are thinking to themselves, Atacha pratamam tabir antare vicharam chamase. Antare means the inside, and vichar means the consideration. They're considering this thing. Atacha pratamam tabir, the first time, pratam means the first time they heard it, this message from Uddhava, the gopis thought, Nanu yogangam ivedam upadishyate. He's giving us some yoga upadesh. He's teaching us about yoga. This was what they thought the first time that they heard it. Now, as we've been discussing in some of our previous sessions, we need to look back a little bit also to understand this verse today. Let's look back in the 46th chapter, the previous chapter, when Krishna sent Uddhava to Braj. He told them, Gachotava Brajam Somya, my dear Somya, my very gentle, sweet Uddhava, go to Vrindavan. Pitro no pritimavaha, you give some message to my parents, a message of love, which will satisfy them, make them happy. And gopinam viyogadam madsandashaya vimochaya. You go and give a message to the gopis. Now, when he tells them that he should give this message to the gopis, he says, Mat Sandeshaya. The word Sandesh means a message, instruction. But Sandeshaya is plural. It means, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that Krishna is telling him that you should speak this message, and then you should speak it again, and you should speak it again. So the gopis, each time they're hearing Krishna's message, they're understanding it in a deeper and yet deeper way. And therefore Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu, he's saying that pratamam tabir anta, the first time they heard it inside themselves, they thought, yogangami vedam upadishyati. That Krishna's giving us some yoga upadesh. And what is the purpose of that yoga upadesh? Chatra mano nirodha lakshanam. That this yoga upadesh is meant to stop our mental functions. It's like someone coming and saying, hey, don't be mental. Stop being like that. When I was meditating on this verse today, it occurred to me this is very, very relevant for all of us. So many of us are very concerned about the world situation today. There's war going on, and that war seems to be drawing in countries all over the world. And it makes us full of anxiety. And some psychiatrists, Some counselors are coming, and they're saying, no, don't think about it. It's okay. Just put your mind on something else. You control your mind. And the gopis, this is the same thing that they thought that Krishna was telling them. Because the gopis also have a problem. The gopis have a very wonderful problem. The gopis' problem is they want to see Krishna. But we also have a problem as devotees. We want to see the devotees. In the Madhya Lila chapter 8 of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the wonderful discussion between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, Mahaprabhu, he asks Ramananda Roy the question, Dukkha madhye kona dukkha hoy guru tai. He says that amongst all the different dukkha, all the different types of misery, dukkha madhye, amongst all of them, kondu guru hoy guru tara, which is guru tara, which is the heaviest, which is the most terrible. And Ramananda Roy replies, Krishna Bhakta Viraha Vinak Dukkha Nahi Deki Pai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He tells him that Krishna Bhakta Viraha, separation from the devotees, that's the worst. Vina, other than that, Dukkha Nahi Deki Par. I don't know of any other types of suffering. There is no other suffering other than that. So, in our world situation today, there's a war going on. And there's many beloved devotees. Krishna Kund and I, for over 10 years, we've been going to Ukraine and giving classes. And we have many friends there. And the tendencies, we're very, very concerned about that. And in one sense, this is Krishna's mercy on us. Because it prods us along. It makes us think. And when we hear about such a situation, our dear devotee friends in the suffering, the first thing we may think about is mano nirodha. We should stop thinking about it. We should do some psychiatry or something and just don't worry about it because there's nothing that you can do. And the gopis at first, pratamam tabir antare vicharamse, in the first, inside themselves, they had this vichar, this consideration, that Krishna's giving us some yoga upadesh, telling us to control our minds. But then they think about it again. And they understood, no, actually, he means something else. That really, the yoga is rejected. And he's speaking about meditation in order to stop the mind from thinking about separation. And then they heard the verse again. And they understood something yet more. And Jiva Goswami says, Atuchapatamatas idam hridya avicharitam. They were thinking after hearing this in their hearts again, this third time, yet that Krishna's telling them, yet punar aham bhavatinam drishyam priyodpi dire varate tat kalumad anudhyana kamyaya darshana sambhavanam mama nirantara janasyai vechaya yo manasa sanikarsha aveshis tad artam eva. That what Krishna really means by saying this is that the real reason why I'm far away from your eyes, even though I love you, is because I have a desire that you meditate on me continuously, because there's no possibility of you seeing me. And in this way, in this situation, then your minds are going to become completely absorbed in me, just like a woman who thinks of a man when he's far away. When he's present, she may not think about him so much. It's just a normal thing. He's here every day. But when he goes far away, then she can't stop thinking about him and thinking about it. And then again they heard it. And the gopis said, the real meaning is that when Krishna's far away, we start thinking about him, and then sanikarsha means that Krishna's going to appear in our minds. He's going to appear before us. And Krishna goes on to explain to the gopis that I'm going to directly appear before you in two ways. The first way is I'm going to enter into the mind by the eyes in a waking state. And in the second way, the mind is going to produce this image, and you're going to think it's a dream, but it's actually not. The first is when you see me directly, and the second is when I appear in your mind and heart. So many times Vaishnavas, persons wonder, how is it that that Krishna makes devotees suffer? It just doesn't seem fair. And we know from the Bhagavatam, in the prayers of Lord Brahma, Tatenu kampam susamikshimano bunjana evatmikitam vipakam ridbad bapubir vidadan namaste jiveti yo mukti pade sadayabhak. Lord Brahma, he says that when someone accepts their suffering and they say, this is what's due to me, and they continue to go on with their bhakti, then for that person, yo mukti pade sadayabhak. Mukti, or liberation, becomes their rightful claim. Here in Jagannath Puri, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saw this verse, he said, no, this is not good. Mukti is not a good word. We don't like that. So he replaced it with bhakti. Yo bhakti pade sadayabhak. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, that's not right. He said that mukti, here in this verse, implies bhakti. Because real liberation means when we have devotion. In the Paramatma Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, he explains the purpose of suffering. And I think, again, this is an important thing for us to meditate upon today, because devotees, they become confused. Why is it that devotees are suffering? In Ukraine, we can't go there, we can't do anything for them. Jiva Goswami explains the purpose of suffering in Paramatma Sandarbha. Dukhanubhava nama hyanta karane dukha sparshaha satcha sparshaha swasmad bhavatu parasmad veti dukha sambandha vishayat. He says that when this dukha anubhav, it's not just duk means suffering, but this is duk anubhav. Anubhav means that we also experience the same suffering. The devotees are there suffering. Now, prior to this, maybe a few weeks ago or something, devotees were quarreling about so many things. And we're arguing about, so many important things about the COVID virus, and is it really a conspiracy or not a conspiracy, or this thing or that thing. There's some suffering there, but it didn't bring everyone together. But when we hear about devotees in Ukraine, we hear, just as we heard last night, about one city in Ukraine, and hundreds of people have died there. And many devotees, there's many devotee families, they haven't been able to eat anything in a week. There's no food, there's no water, they're not able to drink anything, they're melting snow to drink. And they sent us a video, which we're not going to post, I don't think. We'll see, because it shows the faces of many of the devotees. But in the video, you can hear shooting in the background, and at one point there's an explosion, you can see debris going through the air, because an apartment building just next to them exploded. And the devotees, what are they doing? They're doing kirtan. And it's a very intense kirtan. It's not a real musical kirtan, but it's a very, very intense kirtan. They're chanting and chanting. So when we see that, when we hear about that, then duk anubhava, we also experience it. It touches our heart. And Jiva Goswami, therefore, he says that antakarane dukha sparshaha, that when that duk enters into our heart, dukha sparshaha, and we get some touch of that, it's not happening to us, but we hear about it. Then, he says sparsha, such a sparsha, that touch, swasmat, it becomes, swasmat means it becomes personal. It becomes ours. We can understand something about what they're going through. And that's also suffering on our behalf. And he goes on in the next verse, Jiva Goswami in Paramatma Sandarbha, to explain about suffering. Yatu bhaktanam sukham tatasya bhakti rupameva tata tesham dukam cha bhagavat prapt antarayanaiva bhavati tatra charika bhagavatyeva chitta drita jayate sa cha bhaktir evati. Very beautiful description. He says, this is the nature of bhakti. What is bhakti? Bhakti stu bhagavad bhakta. Bhakti comes from the devotees. Happiness means association with the devotees. For the devotees in Ukraine, what is their greatest happiness? It's Bhakti Sangam. And every year, we've been going for over 10 years to Bhakti Sangam. I remember one year, Bhakti Sangam, there was over 14,000 devotees coming together and chanting and hearing, and it's so much happiness in it. So, yet too, bhaktanam sukham, that happiness for the devotees means association with each other. It means to practice bhakti. But tatatesham dukkam cha bhagavat prapt antarayanaiva bhavati. When there's some obstruction to that, when there's no bhakti sangam and there's war going on and devotees can't meet with each other and devotees can't eat and they can't come together, they can't practice bhakti, that's real suffering. Not just the suffering of the body or the suffering of the mind, but a suffering because I can't practice my bhakti. I can't be with the devotees to practice bhakti. But if in spite of that situation, Jiva Goswami explains, if in spite of that, the devotees still go on practicing Krishna consciousness like they're doing in Kiev and other places where they're going out and distributing prasadam and they're doing kirtan. We heard from some of our devotee friends in Dnipropetrovsk how they're doing kirtan every day and they're distributing prasadam. And the outside people, most of whom didn't really notice the devotees prior to that, even they had big Rath Yatra festivals and the people didn't really pay much attention. All of a sudden now, outside people are coming to the temple. And they're bringing boga. And they're coming and helping to cut vegetables. And not only that, but they're sitting in the kirtan. And some of them are saying, actually, this is pretty good. I think I'd like to start doing with you guys more often. So the devotees there, they're not taking shelter of criticism. They're not taking shelter of secondary considerations, trying to find fault. That's the nature of Bahimukh Janas, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes as external persons. They look for solutions in external ways. They look for solutions in the material world. And they say, oh, the problem is, they look for the problems in the material world. What is the source? What is the cause of this problem we have? And they look and they say, oh, it's this particular political leader. He's causing this particular problem. It's his fault. And therefore, people who think like that, they're always in anxiety. But the devotees, they see that sarva karana karanam, that Krishna's causing everything. Krishna has some purpose. And that I should just go on practicing bhakti and everything's going to be okay. And that's what the devotees in Dnipropetrovsk are doing. In Kiev and other places in Ukraine, they're just going on. In Kharkov, we're
underground metro station distributing.
They're going to the metro station, Krishna Kunj is commenting, underground and they're distributing prasadam to the people there. They're not thinking of their own suffering. Right? Their suffering is they see that other people are suffering. So Jiva Goswami just says, dukkha anubhava. This is a real purpose of dukkha, when it becomes anubhav. And antakarni dukkha sparshaha, it touches our heart. Then we can feel for the suffering of other people. The devotees feel that. And they want to go out, they want to distribute Bhagavad Gita. They want to do kirtan, they want to give prasadam, and they want to keep practicing no matter what. And in that situation, Jiva Goswami says, tatatesham dukkam cha, even though that dukkha's going on, cha bhagavat pyapt antarayanaiva bhavati. Krishna sees that. Krishna sees that they're not stopping their bhakti, even though they can't externally go to the temple perhaps, or they can't do this thing, that, and we can't associate with the devotees. But still they're doing what they can. Then Jiva Goswami says a beautiful thing. Tatra chadika bhagavatyeva chittar drita jayate. At that time, chitta means the heart. Chitta drita. Ardhita means melting. The heart, Krishna's heart begins to melt. When he sees that the devotees are suffering, they're going through so many problems and things, but still they're not going to give up taking shelter of me. At that time, Krishna's heart melts, and Jiva Goswami says, Sa cha bhakta evati. when Krishna's heart melts, that is bhakti. So for the devotees, there's really no problems. In the Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 25, text 23, Lord Kapila Dev, he tells his mother, Madashraya katam nishtaha, shinvanti katayanti chat, panti vividas tapa, naitan madgata chetasaha. He says that my devotees who are Mad Ashraya Kata, who are taking shelter of Krishna Kata, which is Mishtaha, it's just so full of nectar, it's so happy, it's so delightful. Shinvanti Katayanti Cha, they're hearing and they're chanting that thing. And Tapati Vividas Tapa, all the different tapa or material miseries that are going on, they don't suffer from that. They don't experience that thing. And Srila Prabhupada comments in his purport. He says there are multifarious miseries in material existence, those pertaining to the body and the mind, those imposed by other living entities, and those imposed by natural disturbances. But a sadhu is not disturbed by such miserable conditions because his mind is always filled with Krishna consciousness. And thus he doesn't like to talk about anything but the activities of the Lord. And this is how everyone can come together. It's not that everybody has to agree, even in the source of war. Some persons may, because of the country they're born in and because of the information they're being given, they may have a certain opinion about things and they may differ with other devotees about it. But because the devotees don't focus on those things, they don't take shelter of those things. Because the devotees' minds are always filled with Krishna consciousness, they don't like to talk about those things. Rather, they see that Krishna is the supreme controller. Krishna is the cause of all this. And Prabhupada goes on to say in his purport, very wonderful thing, since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, I'll go ahead and share this on the screen. It's a very beautiful statement from Srila Prabhupada. He says, since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, they are forgetful of the material miseries. Ordinary conditioned souls, being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. On the other hand, since the devotees always engage in the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. So, this is an opportunity. For so many people in the world today, there's so much anxiety. And not just in Ukraine, but not just in Russia, but also in America, also in India, so many places people are thinking, is there going to be a world war? Is everybody going to be drawn into this? Look at the price of gas is up to $5 a gallon right now in California. And there's so much quarrel and different things going on. And people, they're full of anxiety. And they're trying to find a solution for it. They're trying to understand, what's the cause of this thing? What's happening to me? And their anxiety is unlimited. But for the devotees of the Lord, who are taking shelter of Krishna, they have some happiness. For them, there's no material suffering. Therefore, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says, Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lagutakrit Sudurlava Sandhanana Visheshakna Shri Krishna Karshani Chasa. He speaks about 6 characteristics of bhakti. The very first of which is Kleshagni. It destroys all kleshas. There's no suffering when we practice bhakti. Externally, in this verse we're hearing today, the gopis are experiencing suffering. But that suffering is just external. And Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita says that this kind of separation, although externally it's going on, internally it's actually the greatest happiness. So the very first thing is practicing bhakti, kleshagni. It destroys all different types of kleshas or suffering. This is the need of the day. So in this situation, we feel some impetus. Whereas if there was no situation like this, we might become lazy and complacent and we just want to think about our own Krishna consciousness, or maybe even we don't think about Krishna consciousness. But when we see that people are suffering and they're looking for some answers, then we feel some inspiration to go. We have to go and help them. Kleshagni is the first thing. Shubhada is the second thing. All auspiciousness is bestowed. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a war zone or wherever you're at. If you're chanting the holy name, everything is auspicious. Moksha lagutakrit. Because moksha lagutakrit. It makes moksha or liberation insignificant. But Rupa Goswami says it's sudurlabha. It's very, very rare. But Sandrananda Visheshatma. At the core of this bhakti, is Sandrananda Visheshatma. That has this quality, Vishesha, that for the Atma, for the self, is Sandrananda. It's intensely blissful. And it has this quality. If in spite of all the suffering and different things that are going on, we practice this bhakti, then Sri Krishna Karshani Chasa, it attracts Krishna. Krishna comes. And therefore Kunti Devi, who had a lot of problems, there was also a war going on with her, and her 5 sons were the primary persons in the war. Actually her 6 sons, if you count Karna. Karna was on one side, and the Pandavas were on the other side, and they're trying to kill her sons in so many different ways. But Kunti Devi, we know in the Bhagavatam, she prayed, Vipada Santu Tasasvat, Tacha Tacha Jagadguru. She said, my dear Krishna, all this vipad, these problems, Tacha Tacha, let it happen again and again. It's not a problem, because Bhagavato Darshanam Yashara Punar Bhava Darshanam. When these problems come, then we think about you. And if there's no problems, then we become complacent. I remember one of the devotees in Russia, he told me that during the Soviet time of the Soviet Union, the devotees used to cry. And they were lamenting, and they were really calling out from the corners of their hearts, please Krishna, please let us preach, let us distribute Krishna consciousness, let us do Harinam. And he said they were just crying, and if we could just go out in Harinam. And then he told me, he said that now after the Soviet Union's finished, and the devotees could go out in Harinam, which as far as I know right now, I don't think they can go out. He said now the devotees, they say, oh, I don't have time. So there's a special kind of mercy when there's problems. So really, this is our discussion today, problems real and apparent. What is a real problem and what is an apparent problem? The real problem is when we forget Krishna. That's the only real problem in this world. And anything else is just an apparent problem. And in fact, it may actually be a blessing, as Kunti Devi is saying. Vipada Santu Tasasva, Tatta Tatta Jagadguru. Krishna, please let it come again and again. Because when these problems come, then we remember you. And we remember you, then we don't have to see repeated birth and death anymore. So for the devotees of the Lord, there's no question of problems. Srila Prabhupada even, there's a beautiful letter that he wrote to a devotee in 1974, I'd like to share with you, where he speaks about our society's problems. Because sometimes devotees, they also say, well, we have these problems, and devotees are disagreeing about this thing and that thing, and there's so many problems. Prabhupada wrote a letter about this to New Hari Das on 22nd of November 1974. He said, although there may be some difficulties within our society, these things are not very important. What is important is that we should simply fix our mind on Krishna's lotus feet. This is his instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. We associate with one another so that we can assist each other in hearing and chanting about Krishna. That is the purpose of our society. This you'll not find in the materialistic society, where all hearing and chanting is simply concerned with sense gratification. Our desire is Krishna, and we want to go back home, back to Godhead, where Krishna lives eternally. So you simply follow my instructions that I've given to you, and surely your life will be a success. So Srila Prabhupada is stressing here that this is the real solution. The only solution is bhakti. And there may be so many different problems, but we should fix our minds on Krishna. Now someone at this point may say, well, does that mean then that we hear about devotees who are suffering, devotees who don't have food or water or anything, and we should just say, anyway, let's just chant Hare Krishna, and those things are just external? That's kaitava bhakti. That's a type of cheating. We should serve the Vaishnavas. We should serve Gurudev. We should serve their body. And we see some problem is going on because we're very much in the bodily conception of life. We should own it. We should bring it close to our heart, but we should accept it in terms of bhakti. And we should be concerned because the devotees are suffering. And we should be so concerned. They don't have food, they don't have heat, they don't have water. We should take care of them. And we should do what we can. Mahatma Prabhu was speaking once, I remember, he spoke about how in 1971, he joined in Vancouver, Canada, and a group of devotees from Vancouver, they went to the Rath Yatra Festival in San Francisco, and they were all very, very excited because they were going to get some chance to associate with Srila Prabhupada. And Mahatma Prabhu at that time was a temple president in Vancouver. And up at that point, he'd seen Srila Prabhupada a number of times, but only Prabhupada giving class. And so on the day of the Rath Yatra, he heard there's going to be a temple president's meeting. And he thought, well, this is really good. Now I'm going to get to see Srila Prabhupada in a different kind of way. And he was thinking to himself, what is this temple president's meeting going to be like? Is it like some corporate managerial meeting where there's going to be some policies and strategies and things? That was his idea about managerial meetings. So he thought that in the meeting, Prabhupada was going to set some standards and policies and things, and he's going to tell us how to organize things and like that. And so they all came into Prabhupada's room one by one, all the temple presidents, and they offered obeisances, and Prabhupada gave them all some prasadam, and sat everybody down. And then Prabhupada just started preaching to them and telling them about the importance of preaching and spreading Krishna consciousness and distributing books. And Prabhupada was just speaking on and on about that. And the whole meeting, that was it. Prabhupada was just preaching them. You should open more centers, you should preach, you should spread Krishna consciousness. And Mahaprabhu was really astonished because he thought Prabhupada's the leader of an international society. And in international societies, the managers, they may have 2 or 3 different secretaries. They have so many telephones, they have desks, they have offices, and so many things. But Srila Prabhupada, when he's bringing together all of his managers, there was no management in his management meeting. He was just preaching. And Mahaprabhu commented, he said, there was never a time when I was with Prabhupada that there was some rushing to do this emergency or that emergency. Prabhupada had some other way of dealing with things. Prabhupada didn't deal with phones. Very rarely did Prabhupada ever speak on the phone. Prabhupada wrote letters. And he said that every time I was with Prabhupada, he was either hearing about Krishna or preaching to devotees. That's the real situation. We should understand what is the real cause of things. This is the gift of Krishna consciousness. Our gift is not that we adopt a political perspective. It's not necessary. What is the reality politically? We don't really know. And someone may have this vision or that vision. That's fine. But we want to see the vision of Krishna and the vision of Krishna's devotees. In Rajasthan once, there was a king who was a Vaishnava. He's a great devotee. And this king, he was regularly giving charity. And it's common that different dancers and singers, people would come to give entertainment to the king, comedians and others. But this particular, and the kings would give them some charity. But this particular king wouldn't give any charity to any of those kind of people unless they were a devotee. So once there was a group of gundas, and they decided, robbers, and they decided they wanted to rob the king. But they thought, how can we get inside the palace? How can we get the king's trust so that we can take his money? That this king is very attached to Vaishnavas. So we'll disguise ourselves like devotees. And so they came before the king and they started doing kirtan and they were clapping their hands and chanting something. And they had kuntimala and tilak on. And the king, when he saw them dressed like this and chanting, he said, oh, this is so wonderful. You're so exalted. And he offered obeisances to them. And then he told his servants, you feed them, give them some nice prasadam. And then he brought a plate of gold coins. And he brought it before them. The king said, I know, you're Vaishnavas, you don't interested in money, but please accept this gold as some prasadam. And when the king behaved in that way, those thieves who had come there to steal money from the king and to hurt the king, their hearts melted. And they had a change of consciousness. And they also became devoted to the Lord. They saw how much devotion the king had just to Vaishnav dress. And those thieves, they said, we're very sorry, but there's a very bad fragrance, bad smell coming from this gold. So we don't want it. We know now that real wealth is devotion to Krishna. And speaking like this, those thieves, they got up and they started to leave. And the king ran after them. They grabbed a hold of their hands and said, why are you going? Why are you going? And they said, no, it's okay. Now we've gotten some intelligence. Now we've understood that really bhakti is a real goal of everything. So please let us go. Now we're going to go someplace and we're going to worship the Lord. There's a devotee once who asked our Guru Maharaj something about problems. I'd like to show you this also. It's a very beautiful exchange. Because when we speak about problems, there's so many different problems in the world. And the most difficult problems are those problems which we can't deal with. But sometimes we see things which seem like maybe I can deal with this. So those are problems we see in the society. This devotee, he was speaking to our Guru Maharaj, and he said, just reading this here, he said, I spoke to one devotee who had taken shelter of a Maharaj outside of ISKCON, and he said that his life was made very difficult within ISKCON, and he couldn't preach. He was so restricted. Therefore, in order to preach, he left ISKCON. And Guru Maharaj replied, what difficulties there? Preaching the message of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu says, I'll help you. You'll never be affected by Maya. If you have no faith in Mahaprabhu, then you'll be put into difficulties. Don't be afraid of problems. Krishna's there. His representative, the Guru, is there. They're always with you. They're always prepared to help you. These dangers, these problems, these difficulties, they'll help you to become fixed. They're welcome. Therefore, Kunti Devi says, Vipada Shantitasasva Tata Tata Jagadguru. I wish that these calamities would happen again and again. Why did she say that? And the devotee replied, because by those troubles she was always able to remember Krishna. And the Guru Maharaj said, yes, difficulties, dangers, and problems help one to become more attached to Krishna. Unless there are difficulties, one won't turn his face to Krishna. Therefore, he's in a fool's paradise thinking, I'm okay. But he's in danger. He can't understand it. So all these difficulties, problems, and dangers, they're kripa, mercy in disguise. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj said, accept all the sufferings in this material world as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. What a beautiful message. And this basically is the same message which Krishna is giving to the gopis. Why are the gopis suffering in separation from Krishna? No, it's not actually suffering. It's not actually a problem. Apparently it's a problem. But the suffering that the gopis are going through, in one sense, it's a great blessing. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in one purport here in this 47th chapter, explains that the reason why Krishna does this is because he wants to glorify the gopis. Because he wants to intensify their feelings for him. In the same way that someone, to show the value of gold, they apply heat to the gold and they melt the gold. And when the gold melts, and you can see, is it mixed with some other iron or some other metals or something, or if it's pure. So in the same way, Krishna, he melts the hearts of the gopis. He intensifies their feelings and he glorifies them. So for devotees, if we look back on our lives and we see the problems that we've gone through, we had a bad relationship, we went through a divorce, our mother died, our father died, our husband or wife died, we lost a child or this or that. And those problems that we went through, which were so difficult and so painful at the time, later on when we look back, we see, actually, I learned so much from that. And that experience was a foundational experience for me. It was something which really, really helped me. So devotees, they don't see the secondary causes. They see the primary causes. And according to where we're born in the world, we may see something, we may have some opinion about secondary causes that, it's this particular political leader who's behind it, or no, it's this other particular political leader who's behind it. That's okay. Just like if you go to Russia, they like to eat gretchka. If you go to Hungary, they like to eat goulash. If you go to Italy, they like to eat pasta. But there's no reason to quarrel about those things. There's no reason to insist that everybody has to like pasta. You can't have grechka. You can't have goulash or something. If we try to become one in our society by insisting that our material differences we should all be the same materially, there'll never be unity. Rather, our differences are our strength. So for devotees, when the war is going on, some devotees, it's natural. If they're from Russia, maybe they're hearing a certain thing and they're going to feel a certain way, and someone will say, Mr. Putin is a hero and he's going in to rescue people there in Ukraine. Why argue with them? That's their conception. And then other devotees will say just the opposite. No, this is very bad. He shouldn't come in. And the devotees in Ukraine, people in Ukraine are suffering so badly. We don't want to see the secondary cause of things. Rather, instead of saying that this is a source of disunity or a source of clashing in our society, we should see it as an asset for ourselves. We have people who are supportive of Putin. We have people who are supportive of the president of Ukraine. We have people who are supportive of Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden. We have so many devotees in so many different places, and I don't have to try to change their mind or change their opinion about this or that. We can still come together in bhakti. But if we try to discuss about the material things, and which is better, grechka or pasta, we're never going to get along. We'll never agree on those things. So devotees, in this way, because they see Krishna is behind everything, they can tolerate everything. And whatever comes their way, they accept it as a blessing. And the devotees in Ukraine today, we got a message from a friend of ours in Dnipropetrovsk a few days ago, and she said that it's a great blessing. It's so nice. Now so many people are coming to the temple, and they're chanting, they're doing kirtan with us, because it's like an oasis. They can come here and it can be free from anxiety. And they don't even maybe know who Krishna is. They don't know much philosophy, but this chanting is so nice and it makes me peaceful. And I'd like to help to feed people. So the devotees, they're taking advantage of it in that way. They're not seeing the external thing. Here in Jagannath Puri, there was one great devotee. His name was Sri Madhav Das. And hundreds of years ago, he used to do madhukari, go door to door and beg things. And the reason why he did that was because he came from a very high-class family and everybody was giving him respect. So Madhava Das, he thought, this is not good. I don't want respect. So if I go beg door to door, then people, they'll criticize me. They'll think I'm just a low-class person and they won't give me a lot of respect. This is very good. So he was doing that on purpose. And one day he went to some door and he knocked on the door. Mataji came and he put out his cloth. He said, Bo Mata Bhagavati Bhiksham Dehi, dear Mataji, please give me some alms. And the lady became so angry with him. What are you doing coming here? You're a wealthy person, I'm a poor person. Nonsense. She had a rag in her hand that she was using to clean the floor. And she took that rag and she threw it and hit him in the face with the rag. And Madhava Das didn't become angry. He thought, actually, this lady's very good. She gave something in charity. She's a pious person. She gave something. So he took that dirty cloth and he washed it very nicely and he dried it in the sun. And then he made some ghee wicks from it. And he soaked them in ghee. And he used those ghee wicks to offer a lamp to the Lord. And when Madhava Das offered that lamp, when that light, the light of the lamp was being offered to the deities, the darkness in that lady's heart disappeared. And the next day, Madhava Das again went to the same lady's house. Sometimes if we're doing book distribution or we're begging alms for the temple, we don't like to go someplace where we've been abused the day before. But Madhava Das went back to the same place. And as soon as he knocked on the door, the old lady opened the door and she saw him. She fell down at his feet and she began crying. Please forgive me. Please help me. And then Madhava Das, he began giving her some instructions about doing Nam Bhajan. So this is the nature of the devotees. They don't retaliate. Rather, they accept whatever comes their way as the mercy of the Lord, and they try to use it. They try to use even that rag which is thrown in their face. They try to use that somehow in the Lord's service. And by doing that, by accepting that negative thing, which is given to them by this non-devotee, that non-devotee became purified. And this is the only real solution in the world today. So when we speak about problems, we should understand what are real problems, real and apparent. The real problem is forgetting Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, in his purport in the Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 3, text 18, he says a very beautiful thing. I'd like to put this on the screen also, and we'll finish with this. Srila Prabhupada writes, sometimes the members of the Krishna Consciousness Society are afraid of the impending danger of world war, and they ask what would happen to them if a war should occur. In all kinds of danger, they should be confident of their protection by the Vishnu Dutas, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Kunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. So we should understand that this suffering and these problems, they're just apparent. They're just external. In reality, there is no problem. But still, sometimes we think this person or that person is our enemy. But who is really our enemy? What is really our problem? There's another morning walk conversation in 1974 Prabhupada had with some devotees in Paris. And a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada a very beautiful question. He said, Prabhupada, what is a devotee's greatest enemy? Is it Mr. Putin? Or is it Mr. Trump? Or is it Mr. Biden? What is the devotee's greatest enemy? Prabhupada said, he himself. The devotee is his own enemy. He himself. Because he's a rascal, he's his own greatest enemy. Give up this rascaldom and you'll become your friend. Nobody is your enemy. You are your own enemy. So this is the only solution in the world today. This can unite Russia and Ukraine and the United States and China and all the different countries in the world. Not by our diet, not by our external secondary understandings of things, but when we see Krishna everywhere, and we see that there really are no problems in this world. And the only problem is forgetting Krishna. The only problem is our own rascaldom, Srila Prabhupada says here. Otherwise, there is no problem. Then we meet with Krishna. And therefore, although it seems like separation, although we feel unhappy that we can't associate with the devotees, our dear friends in Ukraine right now, we experience some viraha. And what is the meaning of viraha? It's a compound word, vi and raha. Vi, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, means vishesha rup, a special form of raha, which means rahasya milan, a mysterious kind of union. So when there's some suffering with the devotees, it causes us so much anxiety. And as Jiva Goswami says in the Paramatma Sandarbha, that duk anubhav, when we accept that duk also, we meditate, we think about the devotees in Ukraine and their suffering and how they don't have food, how they don't have water, then antasparsha, it touches our heart. And we also have some feeling for them at that time. And if we take shelter of Krishna and they're taking shelter of Krishna, then there's viraha, external separation, but internal union. Jiva Goswami in Priti Sundarbha, he gives a definition for vipralamba. The same way, he says, vipralambo, viprakarshena lamba praptir yashasa tata. The vipralamba means attainment. Lamba means to attain something. From vipra, which is a distance. So it means external separation, but internal union. So devotees of the Lord, we should be deep. Don't be like the Bahirmukh Janas and start crying and start looking for the cause of things in external ways. It's with this person, it's with that country, it's this thing or that thing. If we think like that, we're not going to contribute to the problems in the world today. We're not going to solve the problems in the world, rather we're going to contribute to them. Devotees need solutions. Devotees need help. And the only help that's there in the world today is Krishna consciousness. So we should see this thing, we can see it in different ways. We can see it as a great problem, a great terrible thing. We can become full of anxiety. Or we can think, like the devotees in Ukraine are thinking today, this is a great opportunity, in the same way that Kunti Devi was thinking. This is Krishna's mercy, that now we're getting more of a chance to distribute books, and people who wouldn't listen to us before, now they're listening more. And now we can go out and we can distribute prasadam. And when they see the suffering of the people, it touches their hearts. So this is a real way to come together and unite about things. Not trying to have Facebook discussions about the politics of the war or politics in America. It'll never bring devotees together. Because one group is always going to like pasta and another group's going to like grechka. Grechka means buckwheat, by the way, I'm sorry. Another group's going to like buckwheat. You're never going to have unity with material differences. So I want to go ahead and stop there. And if devotees have any reflections or comments, please, you could share that with us. Indanuja Prabhu has a reflection. He says, did you get the calendars from me? Okay, Indanuja Prabhu, we'll try to do that. And Brinda Sundari is online here, also on Zoom too. Brinda Sundari, if you have any reflections you want to share, you can do it on Zoom or you can do it on Facebook. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop here. Krishna Kun, do you have any reflections you'd like to share about the discussion today? Something that you liked?
Yeah. Well,
Please speak loudly.
so many. I just I like your point about grechka and pasta. that actually the only way for unity is thinking about Krishna in the intense situation, and that suffering that the devotees are going through. If we think about that suffering, then that's dukkha anubhav. We feel something the same as they are feeling, and then their heart melts because they are continuing in this situation to think of Krishna and to distribute prasadam and to spread Krishna's names in these circumstances. That Krishna is so touched by that Krishna's heart melts, and that's bhakti, and that's their bhakti that becomes intensified. And then it comes back to that point that if we think about them in that situation, then also we can think of Krishna and we can meet. That's Vikvalamba, that's meeting from a distance. That's Rahasya Milan from a distance. And that there is no consideration of secondary causes, because that will just divert our attention from Krishna, and it will create enmity among devotees, which is the most terrible forest fire, worse than the burning of the buildings.
Thank you. It reminds me of a statement Jiva Goswami makes in Bhakti Sandarbha, where he says that there's two types of service that we do for Guru. we do Deha Seva, we serve the body of Gurudev. And the other is Avani Seva, and we serve the instructions, and both are important. I hope devotees don't misunderstand from our discussion today and think that we're just speaking something theoretical. Sometimes devotees, they complain about that it's not practical. We need to do something hands-on. Well, that's Deha Seva. We also need to serve the bodies of the devotees in Ukraine. But simultaneously, we also want to do the service to the message. Brinda Sundari has commented, I appreciate your emphasis on focusing on the essence which unites us. This keeps us compassionate. If we focus on secondary differences and we become attached to those secondary differences and we just try to insist that, look, if all of you would just agree to join the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, you just agree to vote for my candidate in America, that this will solve the problem. So if you just agree to see that the problem is with this thing or that or any external thing, there's always going to be differences, because we're not going to agree on those things. But we do agree on Krishna consciousness. And if we see Krishna as this cause of all causes, then we can all come together and we can really be a source of solution for the problems in the world. So I want to go ahead and stop there. Next week, unless anybody has any last reflections or anything, next week we'll continue on our normal day, which is here in India on Tuesday morning, which I think in America is Monday evening. We'll go back to that again. I believe actually we're going to be in Govardhan in Braj on that day. So I'll make some announcement on Facebook. I'm not sure what will be going on that day, but we'll try to do it again. So thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Binda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo, Vancha Kalpadharivascha, Kripa Sindhu Mevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.